Good evening, and I welcome you to your transformative program, Politics and Beyond. I'm your host, Emmanuel Jr., and it is always so exciting to come your way, simply because we have all agreed that this is a platform that transforms the minds and prepares us not only for the coming elections, but even beyond. And that is why it is Christian Politics and Beyond. Let me quickly make some few comments here. You know, just somewhere last week, Politics and Beyond celebrated its 1-year anniversary. I think that was on the 23rd or so. And so I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank our producers, our managers, our guests we've been having. I want to thank you especially for helping make this program one of the leading programs within this short time. We also had a wonderful program in Koforidua last week. We went to have a one-day conference, and it was dubbed the Scarface of Corruption, a nation in a sinking ship. And I want to thank all indigents that made it possible to be at the conference. It was more than a success. We know very soon we'll be announcing the next place that we'll be attending. So the next region we'll announce very soon, but you should be ready. We'll be there very, very soon. As always, you are going to get interactive with us, and so you have the opportunity to interact with us, send in your messages, send in your comments through the social media platforms that we have, including the WhatsApp line that we have on the screen. Just get interactive with us, because today's conversation, as we've always been having, is going to be very, very, very interesting one. There's one thing we've just picked up this evening, courtesy one of our great journalists or one of our colleagues here, and I'm making reference to Ifua Ofebia, who has been able to fish out to let us all know, and this is really a breaking story, that the work taking place at the demolished La General Hospital, you know, we were told and we're made to believe that construction has resumed and is taking place. But the information reaching us is that they have halted on it. And so just stay tuned. Stay glued to this station. We'll be giving you the unfolding story as the days goes by. You surely get what you need to know over here. I told you this evening is going to be an interactive one. This evening is going to be a very, very interactive one. And so what we're going to do is that we will take a short break, and when we come back, as we've always been doing, when we come back, I'm going to introduce to you the topic that we are going to discuss, and I'm also going to introduce to you the guest who is going to help us to have this conversation. Just stay tuned. We have just about 40 days to elections. You just can't miss any of the Politics and Beyond episodes beginning now. Just stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome to
Welcome back. I'm still your host, Emmanuel, Engineer. Have you heard of these names? So we have what we call the Hawks. We have the Invisible Forces, Delta Forces, the Crocodiles, Azoka Boys, Eastern Bambas, Bamba Boys, Bewa Youth, Kandahar Boys, Lions. The list is endless. And when I make mention of all these names, I'm very sure what comes into your mind is vigilantism, because that's all we know. And that's exactly what we're going to discuss this evening. Today, we are going to have a conversation on the topic, Ghana's democracy and vigilantism. We want to find out, particularly as we are nearing the elections, what roles these vigilantism groups are playing and whether or not the election itself is secured. Remember that anytime we go into an election, they are in three phases. We have the before, during, and after. Don't be deceived that elections are won or lost at the polling station. This is just one aspect of it. Elections are won or lost even before election day. They are won or lost on the election day, and they can also be won or lost after the election day. But one key thing that has been playing has to do with these names that I mentioned. I'm sure if I give you the opportunity, you can mention so many of these names that I have not even mentioned. One interesting thing that has to do with this is the fact that most of them have got some funny names related to animals. So I can see crocodiles here, and I'm wondering if we can also see chimpanzee and other things. But the dragons, they are all here, you know. But that is what we're going to have a conversation on. My guest this evening is one of the individuals who have helped make this platform a success. In fact, he's one of the few guests that we have given this platform to, because we are very selective as to who comes to this platform, knowing very well that we want to serve you very well. And so we know, I mean, he's not a stranger as far as this platform is concerned. And I'm making reference to Dr. Daniel Appiah, my own brother. Doc, welcome to Politics and Beyond. It's good to see you. It's very good to see you. Yeah. I know I ambushed you, but that is part of it. Now, happy 1 year anniversary. Thank you so much. I mean, we couldn't have done it without people like you. I mean, you are part of the success story. So I want to say thank you so much. I'm sure because we have a limited time, I'm sure we'll look for one episode where we'll really celebrate our success as a platform. Now, before I even engage Doc, I want us to refresh our mind. Let's watch some of these videos just to refresh our minds on what vigilantism has been and has done to us as a country.
Vigilantism is something which is clear and present danger to our democracy. And it is escalating. It's not coming down. Because something has not happened. But I can assure you, if we don't sit up, police, political parties, both NDC and MPP, civil society, those who know better, if we all don't sit up, 2020 and beyond will be something explosive, and it can be something that will not be able to contain.
We are here at the Ayawaso West Wagon constituency, specifically the Baoleshi residents of Delali Kwesi Brimpong, one of the 4 persons contesting the by-election. According to eyewitnesses at the scene, 4 persons have been shot, and we sighted 2 bullet pellets on the ground and a lot of blood just outside Mr. Brimpong's residence. Currently, the police are trying to disperse a crowd and make their way into Mr. Brimpong's residence, and it's not been easy. There are lots of high temperatures and people are very furious, and the police are having a hard time trying to disperse the crowd. It's not been an easy challenge for us this morning because the crowd are growing irate by the minute, and some of them are alleging that this act was perpetrated by members of a vigilante group called the Invisible Forces, and we are here trying to observe what's going on. So let's speak to one of the people here. They have seen what is going on. The police, they have seen what is going on. They say it's rubber bullet. This is it. This is rubber bullet. See what they have done to us. They are not there.
Hey, quick video. Hey, quick video. Hey, video.
That's the scene outside Mr. Brimpong's residence. As you could tell, 10 persons are afraid, and we are not sure how this is going to end because clearly the people outnumber the police personnel who are currently at the scene, and they're having a hard time trying to control them.
We need to come together and say enough is enough. Because if you bring the whole Ghana police from all the regions to Accra, and there is a political route, the police cannot control it because of numbers.
We are coming to defend you people as a journalist. Look how they are killing you people. We must come out and tell all Ghanaians that, inshallah, if you come, we will defend every Ghanaian citizen.
Now, Chief Azoka, we are talking about giving the police the room to operate, and also disbanding all the vigilante groups. Are you in support of that?
I didn't support of that. The police cannot do their work because political day inside. Look, police is guarding a MPP boys with rifle, and the MPP boys are shooting the innocent people. You understand what I'm telling? The police are guarding those who are holding rifle in the MPP. Those MPP boys are holding rifle, shooting innocent person. A police
doesn't mean that Chief. No, I'm coming. Doesn't mean that Chief Sofo Azoka doesn't have any confidence in the police.
Yes. Listen well. Police are guarding the MPP boys, and the MPP boys are holding guns, shooting the innocent people.
So if Chief Sofo Azoka doesn't have confidence in the police, what will Chief Azoka do to protect himself?
Oh, we will defend you and defend ourselves.
What means? By what means?
No, the time catch, we will defend ourselves and defend you journalists. Because of that, we call you people to come and tell all the world that the proper party in Ghana is NDC.
Now, you said that now the MPP have you were asleep and now you are awake because the MPP did that. What did you mean by that statement?
The statement, I repeat it, you know, listen. We are coming back to save you people, your life.
But you are not police.
I'm not police, yes. But I'm more than police.
What makes you?
The Vigilante group, a Kuopia, which I say, oh my Ghana, a buy and a bo almost so almost to me, dear, would you make dear, oh my Ghana moo, Nani Nemon, one penny, our Dawamo Anno, director of operations, the muddy Vigilante group, Nana do ado, Ed the Afutu Aqua Ed Ama, and Mebuno Dom Kwa would draw Nina Kaye, our just one as solidity presidential nominees in I say, woman I said to trust seven.
And the person make Kaka Cratch, Emmanuel Ghana for a youth. Sɛ president appointee Penyimbia na omasori etia ne president appointee no president mejidi sɛ ono ne eja one president a ye nyina ye di nechi at least sɛ obe appointee obi a eye ne mpanyimfo ina ono mo adwen ho ina omo appointee sanipa no mesre sɛ wo pe bibi wo president wa anasa wo pe bibi wo papa wa enye ntokwase anasa enimugase se na obegu na ansa na otumi ama wo de ebe ma Mr. Mo me condemn sa mo act no se akakabe sema se penyi e appoint you bia mumu ko se mo beto office no se bi enye mo kwa na mo ahoden mema wo krowe mo ba ye ni sa enyeye Mr. Mo mra fom na mo ma yen Ganafo ye dimi na ye wo no ye ya dibuo na ewiase nyina anim no ye ma no enhyen ye ma ne enhyen se ye Ganafo yakopon hira mo.
You see a very, very noble gentleman, former executive director for accreditation board. Not Mafo, please. Omira Finidin, he's a very, very nice guy. No, a political analyst, and he was the director at the National Accreditation Board. Very interesting. And I tell you what, now, anyway, Kwadaso enie oko video ya wuhwe ya very 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 serious. Kingsley Nyako, that is Kingsley Nyako for MP for Kwadaso. Now these are the military now. Obolo. Armed military men.
Serious, but
video way free Kwadaso says yeah, me no say and it's so serious.
What the soldiers in Kwao,
both police and military. Polling station election. Adeng.
A polling station.
MPP. Adeng. MPP. Adeng.
But how?
Say ya na kwaso Kwadaso. Say ya. O ma ba obi ani ha. Obi ani ha. Ana ma me no. Ba me no say ya to.
Metro phone and
really cool and fresh.
Oh.
Well, I needed to catch your attention, so I did. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ayram Bashan. I'm the Group News Manager for EIB Network. When you took office, you swiftly threw your weight behind the fight against illegal mining, even though it has stayed with us for as long as we could remember. But for you, it was such a big deal because of the devastation to our environment, but beyond that, to the mining sector. And we have seen that when it mattered to the president, we saw gargantuan results. It was telling. I want to also employ you or to crave your indulgence and to plead of you that this same passion and commitment that you threw behind the illegal galamsey, is it possible to direct it towards the lawlessness that we're seeing creeping into our society by the name of vigilante groups?
The passion against vigilantism, that passion, I share it. I'm as appalled as you are by that phenomenon. But you made a point, which I think is also worth bearing in mind, how the security agencies are overwhelmed. I think one of the things that we are determined to do, which we have started doing, is to strengthen the security agencies in the country, both in terms of personnel as well as in equipment and logistics. The other day, I launched a program to revive Operation Calm Life, to give the police greater and greater capability to deal with armed robbery and the rest. I believe that it's all part and parcel of the same phenomenon, strengthening the law enforcement agencies in such a way that they can deal with this phenomenon. My legacy, we'll see about the legacy. The legacy is for people when they retire. I'm more concerned about what we need to do now to make sure that our country has law and order. I think that is really a concern of all of us. And the vigilante phenomenon is as distasteful to me as it is to the rest. But we can deal with it. First of all, there's exhortation, but ultimately it's strengthening the law enforcement agencies to be able to do it. And also, of course, generally improving the access to jobs for a lot of young people would be definitely a process that will help in that exercise.
Thank you. So I welcome you back. Don't mind me. I was actually struggling to hear what the man was saying. I don't know whether you also did, but I think that was why I was laughing. Anyway, so welcome back. We are going to talk about vigilantism, and I'm sure the videos that we have seen have refreshed your memory if you have forgotten about it. A bit of that. Doc, we are talking about Ghana's democracy and vigilantism. Unfortunately, because we've had this conversation before about the Afrobarometer reports, where we went through, I think that was last year's own, where we went through some of the reports, the figures that came, and it was very clear that majority of Ghanaians were losing trust in the democracy we are practicing. Unfortunately, just about 2 or 3 days ago, they released another one. And it looks like the figures, compared to last year's figure, this one is worrying compared to, because if last year people were losing trust in the democracy we are practicing, they are saying that that number has increased. What is accounting for this?
Oh, thank you very much. I think the first thing, I mean, forgive me for this, but we were struggling to hear what
exactly
our president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo
I
was
agree.
saying. So not what the man was saying. It's not a man.
All right, that's fine. So what the president of Ghana was saying, we were struggling to hear him. That is true. Thanks for the correction.
Anyway, so if there is one thing that I admire our president for, I mean, is his how do I put it? His stubborn position. I mean, quote unquote, that he is not going to pursue any comprehensive constitutional reform to improve the workings of our democracy.
Sure.
And he shared that position since, I think, 2011, when the members of the Constitutional Review Commission at that time went to see him. And, I mean, looking at the demand, the increasing demand that came from many civil society activists, that, look, our democracy is collapsing. Our democracy is weakening, and there is a need for constitutional reform. But he refused, and to this date, he has refused to do that. We are all seeing the dividend or the results. The democracy is not going up in terms of trust or confidence in our democracy. We've all seen that it continues to decline and decline. I mean, if democracy declines and we do not even see support for the counterpart or the alternative, being military rule or violence, then that one we will take it like that. But here's a case where support for democracy is declining, and then the same Afrobarometer report shows that support for military rule is increasing, and that is what is worrying. And I think that for him being the president of the 8th I think session of parliament, both 7, 8. I mean, when he looks back, maybe if he is asked one question about what is his biggest regret, maybe he will look back and maybe think that his biggest regret maybe was not to have continued with the Atamils and NJM constitutional review processes that would have given this country some greater confidence, So yes, as you rightly noted, confidence in our democracy is now at an all-time low. And not just that, but all the security institutions, all the independent institutions, the electoral management bodies, having confidence in them now is an all-time low. And so once you see that, then the offshoot is also an increase now in alternative kind of groups, so-called vigilante groups that we are seeing. But at the end of the day, one thing that I keep saying again and again is this, that there is not a single advanced country out there that has ever been able to create strong institutions, strong independent institutions, strong security institutions, by starting from a strong multi-party democratic status, where you have strong competition between NPP and NDC, and then every 4 years you go to elections, and then at most 8 years a government is changed. There is no Western country out there that ever developed from a developing country status to a developed country by adopting this competitive democratic process where you frequently change government. That is not to say that democracy is bad, but it is telling you that Ghana is pursuing a path to go to a destination that no advanced country has ever pursued to get there before. And so this path that you are taking, you need to take advice from experts. What kind of democratic institutions will get you there? How should you structure the democratic system so that you'll be able to get there? And that is the advice that unfortunately our certain president has refused to take, even coming from some renowned, well-respected gentlemen in parliament like Honorable Oseche Mensah. I think he said a lot about the fact that the current path on which we are working on, this democratic path, the structure of our institutions is very bad. And unless we reverse course, unless we reform the constitution, unless we create better institutions of government, we are going to sink and sink. And he's been saying that for many years. And within the party, he didn't get support. And these days, I don't even hear him saying all this. So,
I guess you.
We are sinking and sinking. The ship needs to be salvaged.
That's right.
Otherwise.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that for me is very worrying, because if you even look at what happened just about last week or so, including today, where the speaker has written back to, how do we call it, the Supreme Court, telling the courts that the courts did not pass through certain processes, right? It is worrying. You juxtapose that to the fact that people are losing trust in the democracy we are practicing. It is worrying. What is extremely worrying is the fact that from all indication, the president seems adamant and it's like he's okay with what is happening. Are we sitting down to allow just one person to lead this whole country? As I indicated earlier, a country in a sinking ship. Are we allowing just one person to lead this entire country to its total collapse? Doc, president is not interested. What do we do? Because before we even get to the issue of vigilantism, we need to first survey, we need to save our democracy.
Yeah.
You can't talk about vigilantism if there's no democracy.
Yeah.
What do we need to do urgently?
Urgently, we need to really get the two political parties to commit to a credible timeline for constitutional reform. I mean, that is the urgent thing. That is the only thing that will give people the confidence that there is hope for a better Ghana. There is hope for a better future. Because look, I mean, without a credible timeline for constitutional reform, there is certainly, no hope for the stability of the country. And this is not something that you are making up or I am making up. I mean, this is, it's a fact. It's backed by credible data from Afrobarometer, from many renowned international organizations. And so we need to really push the two political parties to give us a credible timeline for constitutional reform. Fortunately, well, at least among the two political parties, the NDC clearly has stated in their manifesto that they are committed to a comprehensive constitutional reform if they should win. I think what they need to do further is to give a credible timeline. If they win, when is that reform going to start at the end of the day? When is it going to happen? Because we've been on this tangent before. When former President Atta Mills started it, and then he could not finish before he died. And then JM came in, that's President John Mahama came in, and then he constituted a committee, and then the committee was stopped by Kweku Azar, and then the current Attorney General, and then the Supreme Court ruled on it in 2015, somewhere thereabouts, so it was not possible for them to continue. So at least there was some commitment to do that. And so it is very important that they have to go beyond the promise that we are going to do constitutional reform, to give concrete timelines so that we know whether it is going to be, the timeline is going to be feasible or not. In the NPP manifesto, they have picked some few areas which I do not really think that is what is really going to really salvage this country. I mean, everybody, yes, there is a need to elect MMDCs. The challenge that we face with security institutions is not local government. The challenge that we face with the judiciary is not local government. The challenge that the Electoral Commission is facing is not local government. The challenge that the Attorney General is facing is not local government. And so we need to be very serious. And these things have got nothing to do with also Article 71 kind of office holders about salary and emolument. It has to do with the ineffective checks and balances within the government. It has to do with the lack of accountability, the lack of institutions to hold political elites accountable for their actions. If those institutions were really independent and then were really functioning, we will not be seeing what we are going to, the issue of vigilantism and all that. We have been able to deal with it. So if you come and tell me that, yes, we will pick and choose some areas like local government, election of MMDCs, Article 71 and all that, then I do not think that you really understand where this country is really heading to, and you really understand the solutions, the political solutions that we really need to tackle in order to arrest it. I keep on saying that this kind of elections, the future that faces us, is not really about digitalization kind of thing. I mean, we have been on this digitalization path, and yes, trust in our democracy is still sinking at the end of the day. So yes, economic challenges remain at the end of the day. In some ways, it fuels popular discontent. But the major thing, the elephant in the room, is lack of trust and confidence in our winner-take-all system that gives power to the president to appoint all members or all heads of security agencies, electoral management bodies, judiciary, and then all that. And that we need to fix. Otherwise, if you look at the data where we are going, certainly, so let us be serious. Let the parties commit to a credible timeline to give hope. And I think that the voters will really take it very, very seriously.
So clearly, you've established one or two things. I want us to reiterate on it a bit. The first one has to do with the fact that the two leading political parties, the NDC and the NPP, need to commit to a constitutional review. Now, rightly so, if you look at the NDC manifesto, they have clearly indicated their commitment to a review. Right. And of course, if you even look at their background, they started it, they initiated it, till Professor Azar and the current Attorney General decided to stop it, you know. So, but for they frustrating the process, we may have gotten somewhere better than where we are now. Now, if the only thing they lack in the manifesto is telling us clearly or giving us a timeline. Yes. So if we come to office today, within a week or two, this is what we are going to do. That is the only thing left. Unfortunately, when you look at the MPP manifesto, almost nothing is said about the constitutional review. Now, I'm making reference to this. So I'm talking about this because, you see, every election has a cost. The last election that we went into, the decisions that we took, which gave us the results for the 2020 elections. Today, whether if we are enjoying or we are crying, is as a result of the decision we took. Yes. And a lot of things we did not take into consideration. This coming elections, one of the key things I believe we should look at before deciding who to vote for has to do with the fact that which of these persons I want to vote for is committed to a constitutional review. We are in a dangerous situation as a country. Our democracy is sinking. And so the only way to save it, the only way to save it is by having a constitutional review. When the President Akufo-Addo was consulted, he said boldly that he is not committed to a constitutional review. So personally, I'm not surprised that he never did anything about it, because he told all of us, maybe we were not listening, or a lot of people did not give attention to it, or we didn't see the importance of it. Today, we have another opportunity to go and elect. Let us make sure that whoever we are voting for is someone who has demonstrated enough, beyond reasonable doubt, that he is committed to a constitutional review, at least for the sake of us protecting and saving our constitution. And that is, I mean, our democracy. Yeah. And that is what we need. Doc, when you move beyond saving the democracy, there's one thing that is so alarming, and that has to do with vigilantism. Yeah. Now, vigilantism in this Fourth Republic, right from 92 to date, it was in the last election that we had a general election conducted and we lost 8 individuals. Our condolence to the families. 8 individuals, they died. Human beings, they died as a result of elections. Till date, nothing has been done, nothing has been said. And you know, what even broke my heart was when the chairman of the Security Council, or the Security Council, was asked about it. And he said that he's not so sure what has happened to it and that he needs to make reference. And I'm making reference to the certain vice president. How many years now? 4 years almost. And we don't even know what has happened to those cases. We are getting into an election. This issue of vigilantism, some time ago, we were told that they have been banned. But clearly, everything suggests that they are still operating. What is it about vigilantism that politicians and our leaders cannot do without?
You know, the issue, the issue of vigilantism, from the videos that we watched, you know, both the kingpins of vigilante groups and the kingpins in the security forces. That is, we heard COP Before
Kofi, you hear someone saying that he's more than the police.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
You know, at least there was agreement between them that if there is a route, and then they qualified it, not just any route, but a political route in Accra, the security will be helpless in dealing with it. That's right. And as you said, from 2020, when we witnessed those events leading to the deaths of 8 people or persons, what has happened to those who caused the mayhem or took away the lives of those individuals? Nothing at the end of the day. We were in this country when we saw a vigilante group storm a law court to free their members from trial. So that is the highest order of impunity. Going to a court, the last resort to go and then free your member who has been put on trial. And to date, those who went there in broad daylight, this does not okay as night. No one is in jail. And so it comes back to the question that you ask. What is it that makes it very difficult, if not impossible, now for the executive or political leaders to deal with the problem? And the solution or the answer is straightforward from what we heard from both the campaigns of vigilante groups and those in the security forces. It's the fact that the executive has captured the elites appointed to head the security agencies. And until we deal with that problem of executive capture of the security agencies, there is nothing that at the end of the day can be done effectively to deal with vigilante groups, especially those that are aligned to ruling parties at the end of the day. Because they are all with you in the trenches, fighting for power. Once you win power at the end of the day, you are not going to look straight in the eyes or faces and then say, I'm going to put you in jail for using your machoism to help me to get to power. So it is very, very important that we going forward, we create more independent security apparatus. I remember there was one, as a ACP Benjamin Agozo. Yes, right. Yeah, who highlighted that critical need really to reform the security architecture if we really are serious in dealing with the problem of vigilantism and then creating a more independent security agency. And so at least those are persons who have got more expertise from the security side. And if we say that the crocodile comes from the water to tell you that, its sister or brother is dead, you don't dispute it at the end of the day. So it is very important that we really take away the power of the executive in the appointment of the heads of security agencies, the investigative agencies, and then place it in a more independent body. And people will say, but well, is there any democracy where this occurs? Yes, there are 100 more than a lot where this occurs. In Germany, or you go to Botswana, or you go to Mauritius,
India.
Yes,
yeah, it's okay.
The president, doesn't exercise that kind of sole jurisdiction to appoint security persons. Even in America, where you see between the Democrats and then the Republicans, if you see Donald Trump going around doing his campaign, do you see Republican vigilante guys who are protecting him? When the guy nearly shot Donald Trump, it was state security that came to protect him. And so at the end of the day, if we really want to create that kind of a secure, stable political environment where both parties feel secure and where we are able to deal with the vigilante menace, then we have no choice than really to create a more independent security force or security agency at the highest possible level. Otherwise, then we will just be tickling, ourselves, and then passing some acts like this, almost useless vigilante acts that we passed in 2019, and then think that we are doing something. But I think that we will get there to discuss. I mean,
that was where we are heading towards. So, mentioning the act. Now we are talking about the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act 2019. Doc, there's a provision here I want to read. 5 section, article, is it article or yes, 5. Is it despite a provision in any enactment, a person who takes part in an activity of a vigilante group armed with an offensive weapon commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment of not less than 15 years and not more than 25 years. In fact, before we come to the liability here, what strikes me when I read this provision is group armed with an offensive weapon. Doc, have you realized that in recent time, we are no longer talking about Woma Funu, as someone was saying some years back, that we should go for Woma Funu and all those things. Now they are using weapons. Yes. Look at what happened in the case of Cynthia Morrison.
Yeah.
What's the name? When you go to Afram Plains South, something just happened recently.
Yeah.
They are all using guns. Where are they getting it from? And most of these guns are supposed to be licensed. How did they get it licensed? And what due diligence were done by those who licensed the guns for these individuals for them to go into this? The other thing has to do with the liability. And it is striking. It says that a person is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment of not less than 15 years. It's a serious thing. 15, that is quarter, not less than 15 years. Yeah. And of course, maximum, it shouldn't be more than 25 years. But we also remember, we saw the video of the Ayawasoba election, where we had some individuals like Double and some other names and all that. I can speak on authority that these are individuals who are still working freely.
Yeah.
Indeed, not just working freely, but they are comfortably, as someone would say, they have even been promoted, comfortably working under this government freely. What is happening to the provisions? Is it that we decided to just enact them for fun?
We as a country, we need to be very serious. And we need to be very serious. The nature of the Constitution gives authority to one person to actually prosecute in the name of government. And who is that person? It's the Attorney General at the end of the day. And so the Attorney General is someone who is a party member, is with a party in opposition, you're all struggling to get into power, and then you win and you are appointed as Attorney General. Are you going to look in the faces of your other political elite and then say that, hey, you have been reported to me for firing a gun somewhere, and so I'm going to put you before court, I'm going to prosecute you? No. So as many constitutional experts have pointed out, unless we separate the office of Attorney General from Minister of Justice, there is no way that we will be very effective in prosecuting these cases that undermine our democracy. And there's no two ways about this. So it is very, very important that we certainly have no option than to pursue comprehensive reforms now. If you look at the recommendations of the Constitutional Review Commission, many other reports, certainly they all point in the same direction. Separate the office of Attorney General from the Minister of Justice. Look at the counterpart case in the U.S. When Donald Trump was being tried, didn't we see people that he appointed into office standing and then giving testimonies against him? So real democracies respect checks and then balances. They respect the fact that you need to have effective, accountable, and independent agencies to hold the executive to account. But we do not have it. If you put together in a room, as we did in 1991, many cadres or members of cadres who had barely even finished elementary school, and then some teachers, and then some few kind of lawyers to try and then judge and come out with a constitution that is fit for purpose. That is what they are able to do at the end of the day. Carpenters, the president of Carpenters Association, Tomato Sellers Association, Coffee Makers Association, these are not constitutional experts. They are not legal experts to give you any better constitution than what we've had. And also at the end of the day, it is very, very important that as we see our democracy sinking, the bottom line is unless we can create more effective and independent, accountable agencies, including the Office of Attorney General, there is no way that we are actually going to go anywhere. So all those persons who committed those bastard acts or heinous kind of crimes by shooting others, the docket suddenly ended up on the desk of the Attorney General. So it is this prerogative or decision to say, I'll prosecute or I'll not prosecute. And so if it does not prosecute, what do? Has the president removed him? No, he's not removed him at the end of the day. And so that is where we are at the end of the day. So we really need to reform those institutions.
So does it then mean that as we speak, we don't really have much hope? Because it looks like the current situation is beyond, as it stands now, probably between now and election, we don't really have much hope because we have the laws, we have institutions. Maybe what we are lacking is the individuals to enforce these laws.
Exactly.
And if we are lacking the individuals to enforce these laws, and the Afrobarometer tells us clearly that people are even losing trust in some of these institutions, it's just because they don't believe that if something happens, the individuals taking care of those institutions can enforce the laws. And that is why they will end up deciding to take care of their own selves, protecting their own selves. Some goes beyond and they end up doing some vigilante activities that does not augur well for the system. Should we allow it to stay as it is? Between now and election.
Between now and election, first, my answer will be in two forms. Let's look at what Ghanaians are saying. Do they have hope in the institutions? So if you look at the Ghanaians who were surveyed to give their opinions as to whether or not they have hope, do you trust the police service? Only 7.1% said, yes, we trust the police service a lot. And this is a credible international organization like Afrobarometer giving you that. Only 7% said, yes, we trust the police service a lot. And this is a reduction from the highest point of 38%, around round 3. Let me check even which year. During President Kufuor's time. Our 38% said, yes, we had confidence, a lot of confidence in the police service. Today, it has reduced, as at the 2021-2023 survey, it has reduced to 7.1%. What should that tell you? So it is not in my mind, it does not lie in my mouth to say, I don't have confidence going forward. But at the end of the day, I believe in the reasonability of Ghanaians. I believe in the rationality of Ghanaians. I believe in the fact that political elites are taking cognizance of what is going on. And so it is possible, certainly, for the elites to sit down and then come up with some kind of a negotiated settlement in terms of how do we create some kind of an arrangement that will give all of us some confidence in the process. It is not too late to create some kind of an inter-party security advisory group or council or committee comprising the major political parties and all the other stakeholders in this game to actually be in charge of the deployment or to review the deployment of security units to various kind of electoral areas. I think that is the way to go at the end of the day. Because if you look at the Vigilantism Act that was enacted in 2019, since then, what actually has happened? The fact that you enact an act and then you ban known vigilante groups like Hawks and then Kandahar, Taliban and all that. You ban them, you say you have disbanded them. Yesterday, in fact, I was called the Hawk and then you've disbanded me. Today, I will say I am called the Chicks. you know, or maybe if yesterday I was called Taliban, you disbanded me. Today I am no Jerusalem. I mean, I am Jerusalem or Hebron.
Right.
You know, so we need to move away from the lazy approach of tackling the issue at the end of the day, and then deal with it in a real political sense. And the creation of some kind of inter-party advisory kind of council or group will not be something new. Look, when this country was being formed at the initial stage in 1831, when the various ethnic groups came together to form this country, what actually helped and created confidence among various ethnic groups was the fact that now George McLean and his group were able to come out with a proposal that, look, now going forward, it is no more a matter of military force, as McCarthy came here and then did, and he lost his head. Now we need to create an inclusive political institution where I am the president, and then a number of chiefs, paramount chiefs, will also sit with me now to govern and then to resolve disputes. And this brought great confidence now in the new arrangement that was created. So whether Ashanti or Achim or Fanti, they all had that kind of confidence. And he did not have an army to do that. And yet, this kind of inclusive political arrangement brought so much confidence that from 1831 until the British returned in 1843, there was no major political uprising in this country. And they were shocked about what McLean had been able to do. And so it is important that where you have powerful factions disagreeing on the way forward in terms of the security architecture or security infrastructure, it is important to create a group that is more inclusive of the representatives of the faction. And I believe that going forward, it is possible to do that. Yes, trust and confidence has gone low, but it is not too late, and it is possible to do that. Right.
Let's go through some few messages that have come through. This one says, MPP members should never make any attempt to compare their field economic guru with ex-President Mahama, because unlike Dr. Bawumia, ex-President Mahama never plunged Ghana's economy into bankruptcy. You didn't add your name. Silence in the face of injustice as a betrayal of humanity. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We swallow greedily any lie that flatters us, but we sip only little by little at a truth we find bitter. We can either have democracy in this country, or we can have great wealth concentrated in the hands of a few who cannot have both. We have to say enough is enough. That's all. This is from Akoto in Koforidua. We have Honorable Indego Awini from Ahafo, and North South East. We will eliminate MPP government from the system. Well, I don't know the meaning of elimination, but I'm sure you are just saying that you will vote them out. I think that is what you mean. All right. This one says, please, good evening, Mr. Wilson. I'm Douglas. The reason why the president is not able to say anything is that per his earlier statement he made that I would not hand over to John Mahama. You didn't add your name. This afternoon, Dr. Daniel Appiah chaired a public forum at the Great Hall, and I was impressed with his opening remarks. And I'm happy watching him on TV. This is Bila from Lower Makati Hill. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I'm listening to the show. You are talking about constitutional review, right? But is MPP ready? You didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. The good news, Bawumia promised the people of Central Region, like Airport, Harbour, and others. Has he finished it before promising again? This is Dr. Promise Topo. This is from Pizarro in Ashaiman. My name is Musa Kudia Sentimental. Good evening, Mr. Wilson and your panelists. If this vigilantism group are using police vehicles with registration numbers as GP, what are the Ghana police saying on these issues? I sometimes wondered about this phenomenon. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. This is Nathan testing from Big Ada in the Greater Accra region of Ghana. Your discussions are apt and very informative. I'm really learning from both of you. Keep educating us. Thank you so much. Good evening, Mr. Host. Honorable Suleimana in New Fadama. Formation of every NDC branch vigilantism should be a priority to our national executive. I'm like, they are not even interested in what we're saying. No?
That's it. We are banning this ban.
When we are trying to disband it, anyway, so I won't even go further on that. Good evening, boss. I strongly agree with your call for a review of the Constitution, and the only party to do that is the NDC. I'm Nana Owusu from Duaya Nkwanta. Okay. A leader by example, by Ghanaians, leadership is bearing fruit for future generations. Government go, government come, but especially this MPP, they should demonstrate to the good people. Ghana, we are in the democratic era. Okay, so the message is not so clear. Good evening, Mr. Wilson Jr. We are all facing problems because of Nanado and Baumia government. They occupy all state offices with their brothers and sisters. That's why we are in this stage. May Almighty Allah save us from this government. This is Suleiman. There's okay, so good evening, Willie. Okay, so good evening, Willie. As a member of the Consultative Assembly that drafted the 92 Constitution, I take a very exception to the outright derogatory and unfortunate remarks of your guest. Please ask him to check on the academic and professional background of the members of the Consultative Assembly, and he'll find that even though various indigenous associations and groups were called to the Assembly, they were indeed represented by the contemporary best brains in Ghana. And this is coming from my own uncle, Dr. Sampi Yali. Doc, thank you so much. There are a lot of messages coming in. So this one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. This is Arnold from Ho. Baumia is he came to the Volta region with the force, hope, thinking. Okay, Voltarians have become Ghanaians. Baumia, all right. I think I can't read this particular. Doc, so this, I think the direct one to you comes from Sampi Yali.
Yeah, I think I have a copy of the Constituent Assembly book in terms of the membership. I have sat and listened to the chairperson of that assembly, Honorable SKB Asante.
Right.
And so no one certainly doubt or disagree with the fact that the majority of the members of that assembly are not the type that the Honorable Sampi Yali certainly is talking about. Certainly, I think if I were in his shoes, I would also react in the same way. But the fact remains that at the end of the day, we did not have the majority of the right caliber of representatives to actually give us a good constitution. And if the outcome of that process were better, Ghana's democracy will not be sinking today. We will not be sitting here talking about a weak kind of security apparatus, weak judiciary system, a weak electoral management body, a system where the president controls all power and then appoints everyone. And so I think it is okay sometimes to take some of the criticism. But I agree with him that, I mean, at the end of the day, how I characterize it was not all chairman of Tomato Sellers Association and all that. Yeah.
But Doc, we are just wrapping up in about a minute or so. Your last words.
Right. So, in my last words really are that we need to salvage this country, and Ghana is not the only developing democracy in Africa. Ghana has had more elections than any other country in Africa, at least over the past 30 years or so. And then yet, if you look at the quality of our institutions and then trust in our democracy, we have one of the very worst if compared to even our neighbors in West Africa. Democracy is not about frequent elections. It is about equal treatment of actors within the system. And how our political institutions and security institutions have been structured, they are incapable of promoting impartiality and equal treatment of persons. And so it is very important that the political actors that are going into the elections, I mean the NDC, NPP, presidential candidate, I'm more particularly interested in them because at the end of the day, looking at various kind of polls that have come, one of them is more likely to win. It is important that they give us a credible timeline for constitutional reform. And in both parties, I have found men and women who are more than willing at the end of the day to pursue that kind of reform. Of course, the current president, our certain president, said he was not interested. He is going. But those who are behind and those of us who are looking forward into the future, we have to be more serious and not to beat about the bush. And I also call on all stakeholders in our security agencies to come together and create a more collaborative and an inclusive kind of a group to oversee the elections. And I believe in the peaceful nature of the Ghanaian, but at the same time, the Ghanaian is not different from the one in Kenya, in Ivory Coast, and other places. Let us not toy with the peace of this country. Let us move forward and create more inclusive systems that can guarantee a more peaceful and credible election. So those are my final words.
So my Doc, we shouldn't toy with the peaceful election and the democracy we are practicing, because you see, just like Doc said, we all appreciate the fact that the average Ghanaian is a peaceful person, but we shouldn't forget the Ghanaian we have is not a different human compared to the citizens in Kenya, Mali, Burkina Faso, and all the other places. We always say that what we need is strong institutions, not strong men. Whether we like it or not, the 92 Constitution, which has been described as a political constitution because it was developed to have political stability. If you need political stability to a large extent, you need strong men. And so whether you like it or not, the 92 Constitution that we have is a constitution that builds strong men. It doesn't build strong institutions. And that is why it ended up centralizing all the powers, giving all powers or vesting all powers in just one person, in the name of an executive president. If you end up having a president who doesn't have the interest of the nation at heart, that will use the constitution and the power given to him in a way that will mess up this entire country. And to a large extent, that is what we are experiencing. It is so dangerous for us to leave the future, the destiny of a whole country into just the hands of one person in the name of a president. And that is why it is very important for us to have a holistic constitutional review so that we end up decentralizing powers and end up having strong institutions and not strong men or strong presidents. Key institutions like the military, the police, Attorney General, Electoral Commission, just think of them. Some of the anti-corruption institutions like SHRAJ, Special Prosecutor, IOCO, CID's department, just think about them. These are key institutions in building a successful democracy. You don't need political interference. And that is why when we are calling for a constitutional review, so that the powers to elect or appoint the heads of these institutions will not lie in the hands of a president. One person who today, if he goes to bed and for whatever reason he gets angry the following morning, he can wake up and go to the office and decide that I don't like this face, so I have taken the person off. That is what the Constitution, the powers the Constitution gives. And so as we prepare for this election, one of the key things we should be depending on in making decisions is which of, especially the two leading political parties, which of them is committed to a constitutional review, a holistic constitutional review. Too soon, this is where time will allow us. There are a number of messages that have come through, but we appreciate all those who have sent in messages. Keep having the conversations on our platform, and let's converse together, let's discuss together. I'm sure at the appropriate time, those that need to be read in public, we will do that again. But just remember that this coming Wednesday, this episode is going to be repeated on this same platform at exactly 11 a.m. That's on TV XYZ. Also remember, as I told you earlier, that last week, Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana had a public forum in Koforidua. Next week, hopefully, those of you who could not enjoy that forum, we are going to have some excerpts of it and we'll discuss it, because the guest we'll be having is one of the resource persons that we had in Koforidua. And so he's going to help us go through what we discussed. And remember, we were talking about the scarface of corruption, a nation in a sinking ship. That is the issue. That is the reality. Ghana, we are a nation in a sinking ship, and we need to salvage ourselves. We need to protect ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves, save ourselves. That is all we need. Let me use this moment to, yesterday was my birthday. Today, and that is interesting, today is my mom's birthday. And so I want to use this opportunity to thank each and every one who appreciated me yesterday, and to also, on behalf of you, on behalf of everyone, on my own behalf and the family, we want to say a happy birthday to Mama Rose Youngson. We love you so much. You are such a wonderful woman. And if Emmanuel Wilson is impacting or doing anything positive in this society or this country, to a large extent, we want to attribute it to her. So we want to say thank you so much, Mama Rose. We love you so much, Doc.
Happy birthday, Mama.
Right, so Doc is also wishing you a happy birthday.
Birthday, Mama. We thank you. We thank you for your mass life.
That's right. That's right.
A wonderful gentleman.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Doc.
Best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We always appreciate having you because you always enlighten us. Viewers, this is where time will allow us. Until we meet again next week, all I can say for now is good night.